What's happening, explorers? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're getting back to the roots and doing some DIY. Now I have this helmet. It's the K6-3 model. It's a replica, but it's a really good replica and it's very clunky and heavy. Most of it is in this front visor, which is made out of actual pretty thick steel. So I like the look of the helmet and it's actually fairly functional when used in the right combination. But I don't like the weight. When comparing this to the real version, this portion here that covers your head would be made out of titanium, I believe. So that probably counterbalances the weight of the visor. But here, this is plastic and the front is made out of steel. So it's a little bit awkward and the front wants to flop down constantly. Now what I want to do to change that is remake this whole front visor out of carbon fiber. Now, I'm definitely no carbon fiber expert. In fact, everything I know about it has been through hours of watching YouTube videos. And I think I have a pretty good grasp on it. What we're going to do, make it lightweight, make it look cool, because I think I want to keep that pattern. So let's get started. This is going to be a little bit of a tedious process, but I think the end result is going to be worth it. First thing I'm going to do is take the visor apart to its basic shapes and get it ready for making the mold for the two different pieces. Oh, this is awkward. Alright, so I snipped it a little bit. Now we could get this thick polycarb sheet out. So here we are down to our two major components. Now, this part should be fairly simple. Just looking at it, it's almost just a curved flat sheet with a little bit of shape to it. Let me regress a little bit. The reason carbon fiber is cool is that it's ultra light and it's extremely strong. It's comparable to steel. So since we're dealing with airsoft, that's plenty strong. And the light part is what's really attracting me to it. And of course, the carbon fiber look, super popular in automotive and such. And let's bring some of that to airsoft. Now the viewing port is going to be a little bit more complicated. Then we're going to figure out if we're going to do one sheet that we're going to try to bend around this shape, which seems like a little too steep for carbon fiber, but I'm just going off what I've seen, and who knows, maybe it'll actually be pretty easy to lay up in here. Let's get to making the mold and we'll let the chips fall where they may. Okay, so we're ready for the next step. I've created this flange all around the shield here by gluing it to the back. I had to score it a little bit to give it the curve. And I hot glued it in place. Then I went in and caulked all the edges with silicone that we don't want any of the mold parts coming through, including these screw holes. These are just a little sunken in, so I'll know where they are, but they won't be super deep, and it should be easy to lay the fabric around them. So I think this is ready to go. I've never really seen anyone use silicone in any of the tutorials I watched, but I don't see how that could be a problem. It sets up pretty well. It's what I'm going to do now is apply several coats of this wax, and then when that's dry, we're going to apply a coat of this PVA. Both of these are meant to help the mold slip off of this easier, or slip off of it period without getting a chemical bond here. All right, I got a few coats of wax on this thing. It looks pretty slippery. I also added some packing tape all around to give it a more non-stick surface. I think we're ready for that PVA coat now. All right, so the PVA is on there. It looks like it's peeling where the wax is. So they're sort of fighting each other. The wax is repelling the PVA. I don't know, could make for a real ugly surface if this is how it ends up drying. Okay, it's been about half an hour. I took the part inside to let it dry. It looked a little blotchy, but I think it's pretty even. You can see the way the light bounces. Even though it looks blotchy, the light looks pretty even. And the surface of this face shield is not exactly glass smooth either. It's kind of got that hammered look going on. So pretty happy with it, but I think we're ready for the gel coat now. So this is a two-part situation here, a 10-to-1 ratio. Gonna mix up enough to give it a nice thick coat. This, once it hardens, that's gonna be the surface of the mold. And on top of that, once it's kind of tacky and it's holding its shape, we're gonna apply the fiberglass putty and then let it dry for about 24 hours. So I'm gonna mix up this bad boy and we'll slather it all over here. Okay, gel coat is on. I might have gone a little bit thick, got a little extra left here. It's dripping, but I think you kind of expect that with vertical walls essentially here on the sides. But looks like everything's coated. You kind of see the black edge showing through, but as long as we got a film over it, I think we'll be fine. I might wait a few minutes and then apply the remainder of this when it tackies up a little bit. Now we gotta wait for it to harden up, get to the point where it's basically hard, but it's got a little bit of stickiness still. And then we could go ahead and put the fiberglass putty over it. All right, big mess here, but now I have the fiberglass putty all over here. The requirement is about 10 centimeters, half an inch. I think we're pretty much there. Should be good. Now I'm just gonna leave this thing alone for 24 plus hours and let it set up. And then we'll get to see the mold after we demold it. Very exciting. Guys, it's been over 30 hours, closer to 36 hours now, and the mold now is hard. The putty on the outside has dried, and the gel coat has dried. We can see by some of these leftover here, it's rock solid. Anywhere you can flake it off, it picks up the shape of the surface. And this is really hard too, since all this stuff is two-part. So now we can start demolding it. Peel the corner somewhere here. Peeled a little bit here, and it looks pretty good. Looks like the silicone's coming out. So I'm gonna set up, put some gloves on, and let's hopefully see the final mold. See if we can get this. Well, so far it looks good. Ooh, man, that is in there good. There we go. Ooh. And we are clean. Haha. Nice. Ooh, feels so smooth, dude. That's amazing. Here's a close-up of it right out of the mold. You see some paint has stuck to the walls. A little bit of painting right there. Here is the mold after a little bit of cleaning. Got some of that PVA off that was making that kind of watery look to it. So it's clean, it's really smooth. I know it looks kind of sloppy because of the paint that got embedded there, but when you feel it, it's smooth to the touch. There's just no, it's pretty much perfect, even though it doesn't look that way. So now that we're at this stage, we can start laying in the carbon fiber filament. That's sort of the real reason you're here, the real reason I'm here. Again, got to prep the surface here so it could quickly release the finished part when that dries. So I'm going to do that now, clean up my work area here, which looks like a disaster, and then we can start the fun part. Okay, I've applied a layer of PVA, which is the release agent that will help us get the carbon fiber part out. So we're going to let that sit for about 20 minutes till it becomes a thin film. All right, so the first layer of epoxy is in. This is just a coat to kind of get the mold started. Now I'm gonna let it tack up a little bit to where it's got a little bit of stickiness to it, but it's starting to harden. And then at that point, we're gonna get the carbon fiber fabric and start laying it in, and then adding more epoxy on the back and more layers. Okay, we're now a couple hours into this. The coat has become tacky, comes up just a little bit, but mostly it's pretty much stuck to the surface. So now we're going to unroll some actual carbon fiber here and cut pieces that we could then lay in here and then come in with a second layer of epoxy. So let's find a clean surface and get laying. All right, you guys, so here's the first layer. It's in now, it's wetted out. I'm gonna let it sit for a while to tack up. I already made one mistake here. I cut the piece too short here in the corner, and I had to then patch it up with an extra piece. We'll have to see. So I'm gonna let it dry, and then we'll add additional layers. All right, so I just applied the second layer of material here, and I ran out completely after this. I have some scraps left. Alright you guys, it's been about 24 hours since I've laminated this thing and it's feeling pretty good. A little sticky still, but that should just be the surface. Here's where I am. I ran out of material, as I mentioned. I have 2 layers down. So I'm thinking of pulling this thing out. I feel like there's 3 outcomes that could happen here. 1, I've screwed something up royally and we could just stop and start over or rethink it. 2, it comes out with 2 layers, it's fine. We clean it up and move on. And 3, if it comes out, it's nice, but it's flimsy, I could either pop it back in the mold, or if that's not happening, just simply laminate 2 more layers, or however many layers needed to the back here, and then let that cure and clean it up. So I think popping it out will give me a good idea how my molds are working, and if I did a half decent job laminating this thing. So let's pop it out, and hopefully it's like Christmas morning. All right. Alright, so version 1 is out and it doesn't look too bad, but I don't think it's going to be usable. As you can see, some parts here just didn't get coated with epoxy on the front facing part. It seems to be mostly like on these little pivot parts and around the center cutout and around the bottom. So it's like in the corners. I don't know if I'm trapping air in there or if I didn't get enough epoxy in there, or if it dripped down to the center because the way the mold lays, everything wants to go towards the center. So I'm not sure what the solution is. I'm thinking maybe I let the coat sit longer, really brush it into the edges, and maybe some way to try to extract air here from the corners. Not sure how air really gets trapped in such a porous material since it's all just a weave. You can see there's lots of places for it to escape, but that's how it is. So I'm gonna have to find a solution and probably recast this whole thing, but it's not bad. Definitely not where I was hoping it would be, but definitely not a total loss and give up. It is very light. It's got a little flex to it. I think 2 layers might actually be enough, maybe 3 on the next one. Hopefully I could solve all the problems. I decided to start on the second piece here. I've made the mold around it here. It's all caulked, glued up, ready to go. So tomorrow I'm gonna start on a mold for part 2. Just applied the gel coat to the second piece here. Looks good. Okay, I just applied the fiberglass putty all over the second piece here. Now we're gonna let this sit around for about 24 to 30 hours and then we can start casting the second part here. Let's hope it dries up nicely. Okay, the mold is now nice and dry and hard, so I'm gonna go ahead and peel it out, and hopefully we got 2 molds that are ready for the next steps. Ooh. Well, as you saw the tail end of that demolding, which took a while, I stopped recording because it was tediously boring. And eventually the front section here gave, and then at that point it was just smash everything just to get the part out. So this is back out. This definitely scrapes it up pretty good. But, you know, we're not dealing with Fabergé eggs here, so it's easily fixable. But the mold, unfortunately, is ruined. It's only 6 pieces. So I'm gonna have to think of how to do it so it doesn't get locked this time. Or I'm thinking maybe 3D printing the mold. Okay, you guys, so the last you saw me, my mold attempt at this part, the front part of the visor, failed. So what I did is instead is decide to 3D print a mold. So it's a 3-piece here connected with some nuts and bolts. And it's essentially this in here. It's as if I pulled this from here. A little bit tighter fit. I'm not trying to put it back in there, but I measured it out and built a mold around that. So this is good, but it is a little rough. It's 3D printed, so there's a little bit of stepping here, as you expect, and a little bit of gapping too. For some reason the mold decided to start splitting here. I'm going to use acetone to smooth it out. So I did a little bit of test here in the back, and you can see the difference. This is just a straight printed part. You can see the little ridging going on. It's rough. And this is the acetone part here. It doesn't look great, but it feels really smooth. It's like basically sanding with liquids. It kind of melts the plastic here. I did a little bit on the curve, and it smooths out some of these rough surfaces. I'm going to go in and spackle it, get these gaps filled, and then maybe give it a little bit of a light sanding just to smooth it all out. And after that, hopefully it'll be ready to cast. So I'm going to put on my protective gear and get to work. Alright, you guys, so it took a little while and I got some supplies. I decided to do this the proper way by using a vacuum pump and something like this to pull all the air out, compress everything, and get the resin on all the crevices, get all the air bubbles out. So I got all the supplies. There's some there. It's a big old mess in here, but anyway, now I'm prepping up the mold. So it's going to be round 2, same mold as before. What I'm going to do is lay in 4 layers here. You can see I already have it waxed and I have PVA on there, so it releases easy. So I'm going to put some epoxy down first, a layer, epoxy layer, probably do 4 layers. Then I'm going to put it inside this bag, seal it all up, and pull the air out. Then we'll let it sit around for about 24 hours to cure, and in theory we should get a nice clean part out of it. Never done a vacuum pump before, so hopefully it goes well. Time to start. Alright, give it the old college try. Alright, you guys probably can't hear me over this loud vacuum, but I've been messing with this thing for a few hours here. I started with a small bag, that kind of failed. The bag kept losing suction, so I went with a big one, but I think this tacky tape is not keeping a good seal. So unfortunately, it looks good right now, but when I turn off the pump, I lose all pressure and the bag slowly inflates again. I've been turning it on and off every, half an hour or so. Hopefully it's been able to press it in for it to set, but I got a feeling as soon, I don't know, I actually don't know. It could be good, it could be bad. I guess we'll find out when we take it out, but it's definitely hardening up already. The epoxy in the cup has hardened, but I don't know about this, so we'll see. We'll keep doing this on and off, and tomorrow we'll find out. Okay, it's daytime. This has sat around for, since I started it, probably close to 12 hours. Actually more than that, 14 hours maybe, since I first laid down the first coat of resin, so it should be dry. The cup dried up a long time ago, so that's a good indicator for the rest of this. So let's open her up and see if we totally screwed it up or if we got us a finished part. Well, the inside looks good, so that's a good start, right? A couple little spots that for whatever reason look shiny. Could be like too much epoxy where it just couldn't soak it up, but I like this dull finish. It'd actually be cool to have this for the outside, because then it looks cool, but it's also not big old glittery mess. So let's pull it out of its cavity now. Damn it. Same thing as last time. Well, I mean, a lot better, but far from perfect. Especially these corner pieces. And a little bit here, here. The inside turned out better than the outside. Trying a little bit of a touch up here, just filling in the gaps that were missing with some resin. I did one layer, gonna let it harden up and come back with some thicker layer because it wants to run. But hopefully it'll give it a little tacky surface, get in there with the fibers. I mean, it feels like a throwaway project, so might as well try something else here. We'll see. So I decided to try to clean this piece up. So I cut it out, as you can see. This is the final shape minus the couple of holes that need to be drilled for attaching the pop-out piece and the little locking mechanism here. But man, the inside looks better than the outside. Anyway, it looks pretty good. You can see I sanded here. I do have some air divots, but smoothed it out pretty good. A lot of the parts are looking good. It looks terrible on video, but it actually looks pretty good in real life. And just cleaned it up with water, and you can kind of see how it will be with future coats going on. So I'm going to sand it some more, and then I'm going to apply another coat, which will cover up hopefully any air gaps and obviously any of these rough parts. And then we'll have to sand that and then maybe do another coat. Definitely very tedious process, but it's looking good so far. And of course it's extremely light, feels very durable. But it's so important to get the right suction when you're vacuuming these things, because that's just more work later if you don't get it right in the initial stage. Pretty happy with it. Gonna keep working this thing, and I think we'll actually end up with a finished piece out of this. So I did some more sanding, trying to get it as smooth as possible. Gonna set it up and then just coat it again, let it dry, sand it, coat it till we get it perfect. So it's looking good, it's coming along. So just finished applying the first coat to kind of reskin this thing after sanding it. You can see it's filling up a lot of these gaps that were along the edge. And remember how terrible this looked after it was sanded. And it looks pretty dang clean now. There's a little bit of, pop marks, little air bubbles and stuff on the surface. I tried using a heat gun to get those out. Bad idea. I turned everything into goo. I'm surprised I didn't screw this whole thing up here. It looks pretty good, a little chunky on the side here, but again, it's gonna take more sanding and then at least another coat, maybe 2 more coats, but it's looking good. Definitely gonna work, I think. All the edges are filling up and it's just looking clean and shiny, and we're not even done working with it yet, so good progress. So I went ahead and did a second coat without sanding the first one. I think the heat gun screwed up the chemistry of the epoxy and it just was not curing. I left it out for almost 2 days and it was still a little bit tacky. So then when I washed it, which was probably a mistake, you could see a little bit of a residue there showing through the clear coat underneath. I'm hoping eventually it'll chemically bond and we could buff it back out, but that heat gun really did a number on it. So hoping to kind of encase that in another coat. Could be problematic, but live and learn. So gonna let this dry now for a day or so, and then hopefully I could actually sand this part and get it looking how I want it looking. So okay, so I just sanded this thing again after 2 coats, consecutive coats of epoxy over the top. The second one seems to have encased it and sanded pretty well. Got pretty much all the little imperfections out. I know it looks terrible, but again, when we clean it up and coat it again, I'm hoping that's the final coat. and then I could just polish it or just hit it with some kind of matte clear coat, because I'm getting tired of sanding this thing. So much time and effort and sandpaper, and getting punished for not having a clean cast in the first place, getting all those air bubbles, because then you have to build those areas up, sand them back down. Lots of extra work for kind of early mistakes. Hopefully the next piece we can avoid that and just pop it out, polish it up, and be done with it. So I'm gonna go clean it up and then add another coat. All right, so it's time to cast the second piece. I got this 3D printed mold prepped. It's got some wax and some PVA on it. You can see it looks pretty smooth and shiny. Then I got my materials cut out here. Yeah, I'm gonna do 3 layers of this twill, and then 1 piece inserted here just for the front part for reinforcement. Should be plenty good. I got my peel ply and breather fabric, and then I have a bag pre-prepped here. 2 sides already sealed. The front is still open so we could slide the model in, and then we'll pull vacuum on it. Hopefully it'll hold. That's the big test this time. I got some new adapters. You can see I got a shut-off valve here and a different plug that goes in here. Hope it seals better in theory. I tried it on a small bag. It seemed to work okay. So then we're gonna pull vacuum and hopefully it'll stay. So now I'm gonna mix up some resin and start wet laying these 4 layers in, and then shove it in there, collapse it, and hopefully we'll come out with a much smoother part with a lot less finishing work to do when it's done. So let's get going. All right, so as you can hear, or as you can't hear, I should say, there's no hissing happening, which was the big problem last time. It was just non-stop hissing everywhere. This seems to be holding. This new tape I got seems to be holding the air in. Compressor's off right now and it's staying tight. I got a shut-off valve here where it comes into the thing, and I'm turning off the supply at the compressor. So it looks good so far. Gonna let it sit for a little bit, see if it starts unwrinkling a little bit. I think it might be slightly. Not sure what's causing it, because it could be a micro leak somewhere, but just gonna keep pumping it every couple hours like I did with the other one, but I think it's gonna hold a lot tighter than the first attempt. So looks good. All right, you guys, it's been a little over 24 hours since this was put in here, and it's definitely hardened up. I think the bag got stuck to the surface, but that's kind of expected, no big deal. And I think my pump connection here is also stuck to the surface, which might be a little more troublesome, but we'll get over that. So I'm gonna unbag this thing. So let's get on that. Oh boy. Whew. Oh man, my arms are on fire, but we got the part out and it looks pretty dang good. There's a couple little imperfections here. It's always in these 90-degree corners. I should have rounded them off when I made the mold. That would have saved a lot of trouble, but now I know how to deal with them. It's just gonna take a little bit more sanding and an extra couple of coats, which this part can probably use. It's pretty sturdy because of the shape, but it does have a little bend to it when you bend it on this angle. But when it's screwed in and with the little rubber bumpers that go around, it should be good. Parts I was worried about is where I had to make cuts. And you can see it changes direction here, but it looks good. Really good. It came out better than I had expected. Inside looks nice. Couple of divots here again. I think that might be the peel ply peeling it off. Who knows? It was a pain in the butt to get it out. As you can see, I broke the mold. So that's a one-time use mold. That's a lot of work for a one-time use. And then this thing was just soaked. I was gonna do like 3.5 layers originally, but after getting that second layer, and it was such a nightmare, and it was looking real sloppy. I should have trusted the process and just went with it and added a third layer, but I decided to just stop at 2, but I had wetted it out so hard because I was expecting a third layer to go in, and then they just pulled off. And that's the result of this being the peel ply and the breathe mesh being so saturated. I mean, this is like its own shape here. You can see it takes on the mold of its own. Definitely should have let off a little bit, but end result is good. Now it's time to polish it, clean it, cut off all the extra parts, drill the holes, and we'll start assembling. Alright, so the part has been cut and sanded first layer. I'm just going to go wash it up a little bit with some soap and water. And then I'm going to put another coat of clear on it. It's really thin, but it's sturdy because it's got angles here. I mean, like, and these angles is totally sturdy. It's got a little bit of flex all the way across, but I figure when it's on the shield with the screen on there as well as the screws, and I'm going to reinforce it a little bit on the sides here, it should be plenty strong. And I can see it's pretty much exactly like the original part, but a million times lighter. So getting ready for the next coat now. Okay, got a first layer on here after the sanding. Looks pretty good. I think got everything coated, checked with a flashlight. Just gonna let it drip right now for about 24 hours and then go in and clean it up. Probably gonna need another layer, I got a feeling, but maybe we could just do with the one, but we'll see. Alright, these two parts have been sanded now and polished somewhat. You can see the surface is far from perfect. It's really smooth, but it's inconsistent. So what I'm gonna do, hopefully to finish him, is hit him with this clear matte finish. It's gonna be matte, as I mentioned. So we're gonna knock some of that gloss down, and hopefully it'll even out the surface, whatever the little inconsistencies are. The finish should tie it all together, and I'm trying to go for matte because I'm not trying to make this a showpiece like a car part. I'm trying to make it more of a usable field piece, and matte seems to be a little more fitting than having a big crazy glossy thing that you could see from a mile away. So let's spray it up and see how it turns out. So before I assemble this, I figured it'd be interesting to check the weight difference, apples to apples without any of the hardware in there. So I'll start with the face shield, 696 versus 74 grams. And then the visor portion, 496 versus 29 grams. And this thing's a little flimsier than I would like it to. It's only 2 layers on the sides here and 3 layers on the front, but it should be all right. If not, we'll make a new one. So you can see the weight savings difference. I mean, it's about 10 times, even more than that on the pop out. Pretty impressive. So ready to go, printing some final 3D pieces that will slide in to hold the glass in and to give it a little more structure, and then it's gonna be assembled. All right, you guys, it's the big moment, the final assembly. So I got everything in place here. Obviously the stuff we've been working on, the visor and the pop out thing to hold the glass. Now what I'm using from the original helmet is the set glass. You can see it's super thick. It's like 4 mil thick, curved, not glass, it's whatever, plastic, but works good for this. Then these little rubber pieces that go back here, top and bottom, that act as a gasket. I don't know, maybe to keep the dust out and just to make it a nice clean seal. Then I had to make a couple parts. So these 2 pieces will drop in here, and they have 2 functions. One is they kind of give it a little more structure, give support to the whole thing. The other is this lip here will interlock with the glass. It's hard to do one-handed here, but basically like that on each side, and that will press it up tightly against the pop-out piece here. You can see it has holes for the screws to go in, so that will keep the glass in place, keep it from moving up and down, and also kind of straighten it out because it's more curved than it needs to be. So this will straighten it out and keep it following the edge of this the pop-out piece. Then after that we have some hardware that's going to go into here, and that replaces what's happening here. I'm not exactly sure what these screws are, and I gave it a quick little tug and I couldn't take them apart, so I'm just gonna replace them with some nuts and bolts. Should be just fine. I cut them to the right length now, and they're ready to be screwed in. They pop through, and then the nut holds it on the inside to keep it from coming back out. And then this little piece is a 3D printed piece. These are also 3D printed, and this will replace the part on here. That's the little stopper that interlocks with the notch on the helmet that keeps it either in the up or down position. So that goes in there, and then these two little M3 nuts and bolts will hold it in place. So these are the only tools I'm going to need. I got all my pieces, and I'm excited to put this thing together and be done with it. And then after that we'll have one more test, so let's get it assembled. Also using the original hardware that held the pop-out piece to the main visor. Well, you guys, here's the final product. It took like a month for this whole process. I know this has been cut down greatly and it seems quick, but a lot of it is waiting for stuff to show up because it's the first time I'm doing it, so a lot of stuff I had to order, figure out. Some stuff I didn't have enough of, some stuff I had to exchange. And then the other part is just the science of this whole thing. It takes a long time to cure, a long time to sand. You have to do several coats. Just even if everything went perfectly right, I could probably do this now in maybe a week. And that doesn't even count time for like making molds. It's just if I had to make a second one. But it's a huge undertaking. I'm not gonna say it's easy. It's fun if you enjoy doing new things. It's definitely fun, but not easy. Overall, I'm happy with the way it came out. I think it looks really good. The reason I got inspired to do this in the first place was the weight of this steel visor. I like the look of this helmet, but because the helmet's plastic and the visor is steel, everything was front heavy. Now with this carbon fiber one, which weighs probably, with the hardware added, maybe about a tenth, maybe at least 1/8 at the most. So insane savings. The heaviest part in here is this glass from the previous visor. So it's really light. With the battery pack in the back I have here to run my camera, it's pretty well balanced. It feels good right now. I am gonna change the pads in this helmet because whoever designed this does not care about comfort. The way I describe wearing this helmet is it's having a pillow on your head and then a bucket thrown over the top of it. Super uncomfortable. I'm gonna put in some modern pads. So this helmet's still undergoing its evolution, but as far as the visor goes, it's done. You can see it functions. You can put it down, you can pick it up. It has a little bit of a wobble still, and that's I think due to this hardware being a little loose, and it's real easy for it to come out. Not super easy, but you couldn't unintentionally knock it out. Maybe if you swept and you pulled it out, it's unlikely, and it's no big deal, you put it right back in. But that's something you could do with the steel one. You really had to pry it apart. So I might have to think of some way to keep it in there a little bit stiffer. Overall, I think it looks good. Definitely some imperfections that I could have fixed. And I'm a little concerned about the thickness. I am planning on using this in the game. It's not just a for show helmet. And I'm not super worried about the main piece here, which is a 4-layer layup. It feels sturdy, and I'm certain it could take a BB. I'm a little concerned about the pop-out piece, as it is 3 layers in the front and only 2 layers top and bottom. Due to the way it was so hard to lay in there, I kind of abandoned it because it looked like it was going to be a huge mess. Luckily it came out nice, but it was really tough to fold the fabric in there into this compound bend shape. I should have kept going because it turned out really well, but I'm willing to make another one if this one goes horribly awry and gets a hole on it. That's just part of the research. But before I conclude this, what I will do is I'm going to shoot this thing. But I'm not going to shoot this helmet. I'm not a savage. I'll let the airsoft gods decide if they want to puncture through this, but that's going to be left up to chance. What I'm going to do is take the pieces I cut out from the center of this and the center of this, where the glass, the see-through part goes. And we're going to put it up and shoot it. And if it can withhold that, no problems. And if it doesn't, problems. So we'll find out. So stay tuned for the shooting test, but otherwise, this baby's done. All right, I'm going to shoot these 2 panels. Now this is the, let's see, this is the first cutout, I believe, from the face shield, the bigger piece, and this is 4 layers, and this feels pretty sturdy. I think it'll do fine. This is from that pop-out piece. It's a little more flexible, and this is 3 layers. So we're going to shoot it with a 400 FPS gun. I'll probably be using 3.2s in there. And then if these survive that from far and close range, then we'll up to the 500 FPS sniper with 0.45s. If they survive that, I'm not really worried about anything short of a, you know, something that's not allowed in the field hitting it. So let's try it out and see how they do. It's 60 feet. All right, we're about 10 feet out now, pretty much point blank. Let's go point blank here. So we've shot everything now, and pretty decent results. Pretty much what I expected, I think. Maybe a little bit better. So the thicker 4-layer piece, you can see no penetration, but obviously we're not making ballistic plates here. There's a little bit of chipping here. It did take some damage here when I constantly pounded it here in one area, but it was clamped awkward, and it was sort of a crease that was forming here because it's a curve, since it came off a curved piece. When I clamped it, it laid flat, so it was like a crease that I just sort of exaggerated, and it chipped the finish here a little bit. So something like this, you know, wouldn't be pretty, but doesn't really change the structure. So I think the face shield will be fine. Now the pop-out piece here, since it's only 3 layers, on the final shot here, the 400 or 500 FPS sniper shooting .45, so I mean it's 500 with 2s, but shooting 4.5s here. It's probably some good jewel creep happening here. That BB made it through. Again, this piece was clamped flat, so this is sort of the crease area that everything's happening in. And it took some damage. There's some parts where it kind of skipped off, but you can see these are just surface scratches. These probably will rub off. It's more of a BB, just leaving a little trail. Nothing major. So really the only danger is if someone does something stupid and shoots a heavyweight BB close up. That might do some permanent damage. Otherwise, it's sort of just surface damage. A little bit of cleanup, or worst case scenario, an extra clear coat on top. Should fix all that. But feeling pretty confident. Might lose the front piece. It'll give me a chance to do 4 or 5 layer one then. But pretty good results. Happy with it. Let's try it out on the field now.